Today I'm going to show you how to do a bent over barbell row. This is a really classic way of developing real strength in your pulling muscles, but it also has the advantage of strengthening your lower back at the same time because you basically hold the bar and you freeze in the middle of sort of a deadlifting position. So it's kind of like a good morning position, really. And so you get to strengthen your back and your glutes and your posterior chain, and you get to really load up and strengthen your pulling muscles as well. So we're gonna check that out in today's episode. So I'm gonna step behind this barbell here, although I would actually perform them facing the other way because it's easier to re-rack the bar. But I'm doing this so that you can see me. So all we're gonna do, and I'll just show you the exercise first for context, is you bend over and you row. It's very straightforward. Right? Now there are of course some tips and tricks on your anatomy and how to get nice strong form out of it. I want to point out a couple things first. First of all, I haven't put any weight on the bar, and there's a good reason for that. That's because even if I'm nice and strong and as I do more repetitions or sets really, that I will add weight to the bar progressively with each set, I would still start and do my first set with no weight, even if you're really strong, okay? So it's just a good warm-up. So if, now this is not a warm-up for some of you, so bear that in mind. But that's the second reason I'm not putting any weight on the bar. I want you to realize that if you've never picked up a barbell, I don't want to scare you by putting weight on the bar because this should be an accessible thing. There's no reason that everybody can't use a barbell for training. It's a very good tool, and this is a very good way, a very safe way to use it. So especially if you're just getting into barbell training, please, no weight. And really you would start off with a broom. You would start off with just a pole with not even a 45-pound bar, with a no weight bar, and just how do you even hold a bar and get this form first, and then you would progress. So once you're ready to do the exercise here, I like to start with the bar just already racked. You know, you're gonna find some videos on YouTube where the bar is down here and they gotta pick it up and they're here and they pull it up and row, right? And they pull it up and row. Well, there are lots of kinds of bent over barbell rows, but I'm doing one where I think is most accessible. So I like to start with the bar already racked. That way you can just find your grip and pick it up. So as for grip, basically just look at the knurling, look at the rings. If your bar happens to have 2 rings on them, I prefer to put my pinkies on the inside ring here. You could even look where the knurling ends and just put your the web of your thumb here. That would be a fine grip. Really what it is it's up to you. The knurling here and the rings, if you're not competing, this is all really just for your, and this wouldn't, to my knowledge, I don't even think this is an event or anything. I don't think this is a lift that people compete in. Although people compete in everything these days. But the point is, just find the same grip. Just find the same grip every time. Just stick with it. Then you know you're doing the same thing every time. Okay, so we grab the bar, pull the shoulder blades back, we hinge at the hips. So if you haven't worked on a body weight hip hinge or a good morning, then do that first because this is gonna be too much, right? But once you find that, you go until you feel a little stretch on the hamstrings, you kind of stick your butt out a little, draw your shoulder blades back, and pull the bar up towards your belly, kind of the junction between your belly and your chest, and then lower it down, okay? These are bent over barbell rows. And I'm just gonna do it from the opposite direction. So I'm gonna just step over here. I want you to see me from behind as well. So here we are, here's how I would actually do it. I'd bend my knees a little bit, grab the same grip every time, look forward, pull up, step back, and we're gonna hip hinge, okay? Notice I'm not rounding and I'm not like really hyperextending. Just a nice neutral spine is fine. Hip hinge until you feel a stretch in the hamstrings. And then these are your rows, okay? We're not doing that kind of stuff. We're just nice and controlled. Here and down, here and down. Good, step forward and we're good. I really do like using a barbell for rows. I think this is a good way to really truly add strength to your program. Even if you're really into more body weight stuff, or if you're into more functional training, more dynamic stuff, gait specific training, you generally with those exercises, you can't really put a lot of load into it. So you pick an exercise and you typically are able to do more repetitions of that exercise. And the more repetitions of an exercise you can do, the more you're working on muscular endurance rather than muscular strength. So a barbell is a good way of just getting good old fashioned strong, right? Because you can put more weight on until you can only do, 5 to 8 reps. And then you're more likely to be developing your strength rather than muscular endurance, if that's your goal. Even if it's not, you can drop the weight, and that's fine too. It's a good way of working on stability and just working on a single plane so it's nice and controlled. So maybe you're having a hard time with more dynamic functional activities and you want to sort of regress, but you want to keep the load. So this would be a good way to do that. So a lot of times fitting these pieces together is sort of tricky. So if any of that is confusing, you can always contact me. I work with people one-on-one for their fitness goals and programming. So check that out on my website. One-on-one personal training online is available. Thanks for watching. See you next time.